BBC One brings you Joanna Trollope's best-selling novel, The Choir.
Good. Have you had an affair with anyone?
Since I married Alan, no.
Well, you're about to have one now.
Dark secrets and dangerous passions in the secluded world of a cathedral close.
I just can't go any further, Leo. You must give up.
No.
Politics are played.
There will still be considerable opposition.
But you are Dean, Huffo.
Battles are fought.
To risk robbing this cathedral of its choir after 400 years?
And families divided.
Where does your loyalty lie, with your grandson or your politics?
But when the cathedral begins to crumble, a community is torn apart. The Choir, starting tomorrow at 9:05 on BBC One.
Rough justice for Matt now on BBC One as he makes a painful out-of-court settlement in Casualty.
This is Hamish Macbeth, who moved to Lochnew in search of a quiet life. He just hadn't bargained on the local villains.
No! Stockings, woman, stockings, tights, for God's sake.
The information superhighway.
You can't clean your ferret's cage out here without it being on CNN.
Or the perils of love.
What am I supposed to think? 1 minute I'm perfectly happy, the next minute you're off.
Welcome to the world of Hamish Macbeth, Sunday 26th of March on BBC One.
Joke. How can people not be like wee dogs, eh?
Combining classic clips, rare footage and eyewitness interviews, Patrick Stewart tells the story of the MGM studios on BBC Two in 5 minutes, When the Lion Roars.
The stags go a-rutting.
It's all over for him after tomorrow.
Dave's only getting married tomorrow, you know. He's not getting his legs sawn off.
And the hens go a-strutting.
Linda's marriage was made in heaven. Mine was made in Bootle.
A night to remember.
Not interested in love. It's just sex.
And a night to forget.
You should have come with me when I left.
I couldn't.
You wouldn't.
Willie Russell's dancing through the dark.
Have you forgotten you're getting married tomorrow?
And what makes you so sure I'm still going ahead with it?
In 20 minutes on BBC One.
And that's after a roundup of the day's news and sport from the BBC with Peter Sissons.
The government confirms it has sent Sinn Féin an agenda for the first face-to-face meeting with ministers. It says it's now down to Gerry Adams and his negotiators to say they'll talk seriously about dismantling the IRA arsenal. The Ulster Unionist leader beats off a challenge to his leadership, but not all the questions about it. And English rugby fans mob the captain as the winner takes all. Good evening. The prospect of an early meeting between Sinn Féin and British ministers now hangs on how Sinn Féin react to an agenda that's been drawn up. The government confirmed today that it had sent it, that it all hinged on talking about how IRA arms might be decommissioned, and that the ball was now in Sinn Féin's court. As Gerry Adams's controversial visit to America neared its end, it was revealed that President Clinton will have his long-awaited telephone discussion with Mr Major tomorrow.
Gerry Adams was out glad-handing again today on his fundraising trip in the States, and although still insisting that it's too much to expect the IRA to give up their weapons unilaterally, he thinks a meeting with British ministers isn't far away.
Well, I think it'll come in days rather than weeks. My colleague Martin McGuinness has been able to move the situation along in the discussion of agendas with the officials, and I'd be very disappointed if we didn't have those talks very, very soon.
His optimism might indicate some shift in Sinn Féin's position. President Clinton, who hosted St Patrick's Night at the White House, will be giving his assessment to John Major in a telephone call tomorrow afternoon. He'll be asked if Mr Adams gave any private hints as to their likely response. So far, the Sinn Féin delegation led by Martin McGuinness has been holding exploratory talks with Northern Ireland civil servants. Those officials have now handed over an agenda for talks, including ministers, probably the Northern Ireland Minister Michael Ancram. But the meeting won't go ahead unless Sinn Féin are prepared to talk about decommissioning the IRA's arms and explosives.
Well, the ball's in Sinn Féin and the IRA's court, where it's always been. If they don't move on the arms, if they don't give an undertaking to give up their Semtex, their surface-to-air missiles, and all the other weapons they've got, then there'll be no further progress made, because that is a precondition.
But the Irish Foreign Minister thought a ministerial meeting was much closer, and he gave a strong hint that Sinn Féin would have to talk about the surrendering of weapons.
I think what we've got to try to do now is put all the issues on the agenda: policing, decommissioning, prisons, and all of these issues on the agenda, and try to have some movement from all sides.
The British government's confirmation that an agenda has been supplied to Sinn Féin has left the Ulster Unionists feeling highly suspicious.
Agendas in themselves are quite all right. It's where you move without just cause from agenda to talks between ministers and members of Sinn Féin IRA, while they're still inextricably linked with violence and with a huge arsenal of weapons.
There's quiet satisfaction in London at President Clinton's public appeal for the surrender of IRA arms. While Gerry Adams might have secured another publicity coup in the States, the British government believes that Sinn Féin can't now brush aside the demand for weapons to be handed in. Nicholas Jones, BBC News, Westminster.
The Ulster Unionist MP, James Molyneux, has survived a challenge to his leadership of the party from a 21-year-old student. But Lee Reynolds' poll of 15% of the vote was far higher than expected, and the result appears to cast some doubt over Mr Molyneux's future as party leader.
James Molyneux didn't look like a man who thought he was about to be dumped by his party, and there wasn't the remotest chance of that. But this was a blow, the first time his leadership had been challenged in 15 years. The stalking horse candidate was Lee Reynolds, a university student, dismissed by some as a political upstart. But when the count was taken, he'd secured 88 votes out of 619, 10 abstained. A vote against Mr Molyneux that surprised even Mr Reynolds.
He did publicly and privately declare that if the framework document was a betrayal, he would stand down, and I personally consider the framework document a betrayal.
Do you think after this vote he should now stand down?
Yes, in the interest of party unity.
As Mr Reynolds was heading back to political obscurity, Mr Molyneux was making it quite clear he'd no intention of standing down. He said the party had to regroup after the damage of the framework document, and he turned on disruptive elements within the party, describing them as malingerers.
If it's strong leadership they want, it's strong leadership they will get. Well, the malingerers are not going to love nor honour me, but obey they certainly will, because I will see to that.
Despite the enthusiasm from the majority, Mr Molyneux's leadership has been weakened by today's challenge. That'll concern some unionists, given all the talk of possible agendas between Sinn Féin and government ministers. Matthew Emery-Waller, BBC News, Belfast.
Well, joining me now from Washington is our Ireland correspondent Dennis Murray, who's been following Gerry Adams's visit to America. First, Dennis, the challenge to Jim Molyneux, does it weigh in the political balance in the search to make the peace last?
Well, no, I think Jim Molyneux's position is pretty secure. 15% of the votes against him is fairly considerable and a great deal more than the party establishment expected. And I think they played rather poor politics by saying that the opposition candidate would only get a handful of votes. I think Mr Molyneux's authority has been weakened. I think there's no question of that. But the Ulster Unionist Party is a very loyal party, and I don't think any of the MPs that would take to mount a challenge will mount a challenge. So I think he's fairly safe in his leadership. The party thinks, I feel, that he was misled by the government, by John Major over the framework document, but I think John Major still sees the 9 Ulster Unionist votes as fairly important in the House of Commons, and Jim Molyneux personally as well.
Now, during his trip to America, has Mr Adams been effectively cornered into accepting Britain's terms for ministerial talks?
I don't think he's been cornered into it. I think certainly, to use John Bruton's phrase, the Irish Prime Minister's phrase, there's been a convergence of positions. I felt for some time that a meeting between a British minister and Sinn Féin has been absolutely inevitable. It's become even more inevitable after this trip. It would be very difficult for the British government internationally to refuse for even a junior minister to see Sinn Féin after the US President has been able to see him. And I think certainly there's a feeling among some unionists even that this trip has been useful because it has cemented Sinn Féin even more into the peace process and away from violence.
Dennis Murray in Washington, thank you. Here, the Ryman chain of stationers has been sold to a company which specialises in mobile telephones. The new owner says he wants to update Ryman's image by selling more office technology. Ryman was part of the Pentos Group, which went into receivership at the beginning of the month.
There are around 100 Ryman stores operating mainly in London and the southeast. As part of the failed Pentos Group, the stationers went bust just over a fortnight ago, when the group's bankers finally gave up hope of recovering around £70 million in loans. The new owner is already familiar with Ryman, as his firm, NAG Telecom, has concessions in a number of Ryman stores to sell mobile phones. The announcement by the receivers follows the earlier sale of the bookshop chain Dillon's and Pentos Office Furniture, the two other main operating companies in the Pentos business group. Ryman employs some 660 people, and the new owner tonight said that in any forthcoming reorganisation, he hoped to keep any job losses to an absolute minimum. The banks have now got back more than half of the money they were owed, so in the case of Pentos, the receivership process has been remarkably successful. Clarence Mitchell, BBC News.
European Union foreign ministers say they're not ready yet to implement a free trade agreement with Russia. They're unhappy about Russia's abuse of human rights in Chechnya and want further assurances from Boris Yeltsin that Russia is committed to democracy and the free market.
Inside the walls of this French medieval city, Europe's foreign ministers are grappling with the contradictions at the heart of their dealings with Russia. To protest against Moscow's violence in Chechnya, the European Union is delaying a huge trade deal already agreed with President Yeltsin. And yet the EU really wants to encourage economic growth and political reform in Russia. So the 15 foreign ministers used what's supposed to be a relaxed weekend of long-term reflection to try to find the balance between toughness and support. The trade agreement with Russia will stay frozen for now, but the French foreign minister reported positive signals from his visit to Moscow.
The mood here, too, was positive in the longer term. If we can get this Chechnya difficulty out of the way, and it is a cloud, there was a strong agreement here that we should go ahead into partnership with Russia, both on the security side through a relationship with NATO, and on the trading side towards a free trade area between Russia and the European Union.
The original partnership agreement with Boris Yeltsin was reached last June at the European summit in Corfu. It was hailed as a milestone, but Russia's crushing of Chechnya blew the process off course. Now Mr. Yeltsin says he'll negotiate with Chechens and rebuild peace. The European Union still wants to see hard evidence to match the words. So the main hope of ministers is that Boris Yeltsin, tempted by the prospect of far closer trade and political links with Western Europe, will now push on to entrench democracy and the free market economy in Russia. James Robbins, BBC News, Carcassonne.
Now, with news of a Grand Slam victory for England and the rest of the day's sport, here's Helen Rollason.
England have become this season's Five Nations champions, and in the process they've completed their third clean sweep in 5 years. In the Grand Slam showdown at Twickenham, the favourites beat Scotland by 24 points to 12. They're now 3-1 to win the World Cup. Meanwhile, Wales were condemned to the wooden spoon just a year after winning the championship, losing to Ireland 16-12 in Cardiff.
It wasn't quite the finale that had been hyped before. Tense, certainly, with so much at stake and with an outcome uncertain almost throughout. But true spectacle was missing as defence consistently outwitted attack. Invariably Scottish defence, English attack. An evenly balanced first half went to England by almost the same narrow margin as Andrew's second penalty, a kick that gave him 299 points and made him England's highest scorer. But Scotland was scoring from open play, and Chalmers' second drop goal took the score to 6-all. However, they were never again on level terms, simply because Andrew, it seemed, just couldn't miss. This gave England an early second-half lead of 15-6, and although the Scots' famous determination took them on one occasion over the English line, their efforts came to nothing. The rest of the second-half points came in tit-for-tat kicking. This Rob Andrews' one-drop goal as the lead alternated between 6 and 9 points, although England, by this time, were enjoying very much more of the possession and began to open out.
Tony Underwood going over the 22. Scott Hastings just brought him down.
Invariably, the move would eventually end in another Andrew penalty, and this, his 7th successful effort out of 8, settled the final score of 24-12 for a third Grand Slam in 5 years.
Oh, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. Sad we didn't score a try, made enough chances, but it's an incredible feeling.
It's pleasing to win when you don't play particularly well. It's not pleasing to win in circumstances where you don't score tries and where you play against negative opposition. There's some responsibility on them to try and make a spectacle of it as well, and you know, they just ruin the whole game really.
This sour note won't eradicate the memory of Carling's dash afterwards around a pitch crowded with fans who'll be expecting even greater things at the World Cup in South Africa this summer. Unarguably, England are a better side now than they were in 1991 when they lost in the final. Rob Bonnet, BBC News.
In Cardiff, a game which wholly reflected the limited abilities of two sides trying to avoid the wooden spoon. Here, desperation, not aspiration, dictated, and was probably behind the incident which landed Ireland's Eric Elwood in hospital. Hit late and from behind by Wales's Richie Collins, he was catapulted into one of his own teammates and had to be stretchered away. He was taken to hospital for x-rays on a neck injury. His replacement, Paul Burke, quickly made an impression, expertly drawing the scores level before, after 35 minutes, Ireland fashioned the game's decisive move. Wallace's incisive break caused the initial damage. Brendan Mullin finished the job. In the second half, Jenkins cut the deficit to a single point, but yet again his boots looked the only source of Welsh points. Subsequently, Burke extended Ireland's lead to 4 and effectively sealed a 4th successive Welsh defeat. Only a year ago, they were champions. Kevin Geary, BBC News.
With just 3 matches left at Ewood Park this season, Blackburn have pulled 6 points clear at the top of the FA Carling Premiership. Alan Shearer scored his 100th league goal and set up Tim Sherwood's winner against Chelsea. Brian Roy reduced Southampton's chances of avoiding relegation, putting 2 goals past Dave Besant. Bruce Grobbelaar was on the bench. And another spectacular late strike by Jurgen Klinsmann gave Tottenham a home win against Leicester. So no change at the top of the table. Manchester United play at Liverpool tomorrow and Newcastle take on Arsenal. Andy Hinchcliffe's last-minute free kick gave Everton much-needed points at QPR. John Moncur scored West Ham's first to increase their survival hopes at Aston Villa. Vinnie Jones headed his 3rd goal of the season in a bad-tempered match against landlords Crystal Palace. West Ham and Crystal Palace swapped positions at the bottom of the table. Ipswich are at Norwich on Monday. In the Ensley First Division, Middlesbrough lost at home. Lee Mills was one of Derby's 3 first-half scorers. Mark Pembridge got the 3rd, and despite a fight-back, Borough were beaten 4-2. That defeat cost Middlesbrough the chance to go top, as Tranmere also lost at Luton. Sheffield United go 3rd after beating Charlton. Wolves drew with Watford. In the Bell Scottish Premier League, John Robertson set Hearts on their way to victory against Rangers. But Rangers are 12 points clear as they head towards the Championship for the 45th time. Motherwell beat Dundee, Hibs drew at Aberdeen. Celtic's match was postponed. In racing, the jockey Norman Williamson finished off a remarkable week by winning the Midlands National at Uttoxeter. Having taken the Champion Hurdle and Gold Cup at the Cheltenham Festival, today he was on Lucky Lane. The horse almost missed this race altogether. Trainer Philip Hobbs had him earmarked for a race on Tuesday instead. But owner Rod Hamilton intervened and saw Williamson ride to a convincing finish, coming home 1 3/4 lengths ahead of Arthur's Minstrel. Lucky Lane is not entered for the Grand National, but could be a good bet for the Scottish National. Peter.
Hundreds of heads of state and members of royal families, including the Prince of Wales, have attended Spain's first royal wedding for nearly 90 years. The Infanta Elena, the 31-year-old daughter of King Juan Carlos and Queen Sofia, has married a Castilian aristocrat in Seville Cathedral. That's all from Helen and me. Good night.
Good evening. There may have been a whirlwind at Twickenham today, but generally the winds across the British Isles were not as strong as on Friday. Top gusts went to the north with Butt of Lewis and Aberdeen, both seeing the winds touch 40 miles an hour at times. Now the strongest gusts came along with the heaviest of the showers, and we still got plenty of showers showing up on the weather radar. Quite a clump of them moving across northern England at the moment. We'll see some more wintry ones for northern areas, but the showers in the south will fall as rain. Now that could pose some problems later on in the night with a touch of frost on the ground, so we could see some icy patches in the south, but the widespread frost is going to be across the northern half of the British Isles. Some more hail, sleet and snow showers for northern areas tomorrow. Even these showers in the south will work their way across to the east coast, and it will feel quite chilly if you're out in the breeze. But a change on the way for next week as high pressure starts to take over, and that is going to bring some warm spring sunshine with it, just in time for the vernal equinox. Good night.
A raucous night out for the Stags and Hens in just a moment here on BBC One in Willie Russell's feature-length comedy drama Dancing Through the Dark. Just before that, an update on today's National Lottery draw. The 6 winning numbers are confirmed as 9, 18, 19, 24, 31, 41, and the bonus number is 21. Preliminary indications are that there are 2 jackpot winners who've each won an unconfirmed £3.9 million.
On the BBC One menu this Sunday, a problem for Lyman.
There's a snag about dinner. I was going to do us Chinese.
Lost your nerve?
No, I've lost the wok. Mrs. Flack's been tidying.
Compliments for the chef.
My God, to die for.
This is seriously excellent food, Miranda.
And a diet for Rodney.
I ain't had nothing to eat since I've been up here.
Was that you been too frightened?
No, I forgot the tin opener.
Then at 9:05.
Bread and butter, Nicholas, and honey.
Thank you.
The genteel world of Aldminster Cathedral is about to be torn apart in Joanna Trollope's The Choir. And with the frisky brew that's Fry and Laurie at 10:25, enjoy a gourmet evening this Sunday on BBC One.
Claire Hackett and Con O'Neill star now on BBC One in a comedy drama by Willie Russell. It's the eve of a wedding, with spirits running high, volatile emotions and some strong language in Dancing Through the Dark. A powerful portrayal of the Vietnam conflict on BBC Two in 20 minutes, with Burt Lancaster giving what he considered to be one of his best performances as an officer pushed to the limits.
Oh, be joyful. So let's take the top. Yes? Everybody ready? And 1.
BBC One brings you Joanna Trollope's best-selling novel, The Choir.
Good.
Have you had an affair with anyone?
Since I married Alan, no.
Well, you're about to have one now.
Dark secrets and dangerous passions in the secluded world of a cathedral close.
No, I just can't go any further, Leo. There must be. No.
Politics are played.
But there will still be considerable opposition.
But you are Dean, Huffo. Battles are fought.
To risk robbing this cathedral of its choir after 400 years?
And families divided.
Where does your loyalty lie, with your grandson or your politics?
But when the cathedral begins to crumble, a community is torn apart. The Choir, starting tomorrow at 9:05 on BBC One.
If you've got those Saturday night blues, then why not tune in to another bout of verbal jousts from some of the biggest and best on the comedy circuit. Dominic Holland, Michael Redmond and Bob Mills on The Stand-Up Show, tonight at 11:45 on BBC One.
This is BBC One. Now Desmond Lynham with all the action from the Premiership in Match of the Day.